Baby Doll is a famous DC Universe villainess who debuted back in 1994 on the legendary Batman the Animated Series, making such an impact that she inspired another animation villainess that has since gone to become a fan favorite. However, what most people don't know is that both of these characters were based on a forgotten comic book villainess from the 80s. A character much darker and twisted than you could imagine. So, today we take a close look at Baby Boom, the OG baby doll. The DC Universe has an endless supply of fascinating characters. One of the things that makes DC stand out from other mainstream comic publishers, and I mean the big ones, not the smaller indie companies, is the fact that DC has always had guts. Not only by delving in subjects that most would rather not touch, but by daring to initiate the hard conversations that need to be had. And that includes delicate subjects, such as conditions like hypoplegia and dwarfism. And within those lines, there's a character that has broken the mold, as well as all kinds of stereotypes. Meet Baby Doll, a character far from all the other female baddies from the comic book world, not just in appearance, but in personality and motivation as well. Baby Doll made her debut on October 1st of 1994 on the episode titled Baby Doll, which introduced the character to mainstream audiences and established her as one of Batman's strangest and darkest foes, with one of the most fractured psyches within the DCAU. The episode and character were so well received that Baby Doll would reappear on another episode of Batman the New Adventures on 1998. However, against the public's perception, Baby Doll wasn't born on Batman the Animated Series, or at least not entirely, as she is based on another character who at the time had almost a decade worth of history prior to Baby Doll's creation. Meet Baby Boom, created by the legendary Roy Thomas and the iconic fan favorite Todd McFarlane. Baby Boom is a forgotten villainess and member of the Helix, as well as one of the most powerful metahumans in the DC Universe. Baby Boom had all the personality traits of Baby Doll, but with an even darker past. By the way, it should be noted that Baby Boom made her debut back in 1985 on the pages of Infinity Inc., issue 17. Almost 10 years prior to Baby Doll's creation. Now, Batman the Animated Series, aside from being the most acclaimed, revered, and respected comic book animated series, was also responsible for giving a new life to characters that didn't have much depth to them. And so, just like it happened with the show's reimagining of Mr. Freeze, in the highly acclaimed Emmy-winning episode Heart of Ice, Baby Boom was also modified, revamped, and basically relaunched as Baby Doll, expanding upon the character's lore by adding a tragic background, a fractured psyche, and an emotional and profound twist behind her motivations. Baby Doll was born Marie Louise Doll, and was presented as an adult woman with the appearance of a 6-year-old, who was a former child star who turned to crime after failing to maintain an acting career. Whereas the original Baby Doll, Baby Boom, is an adult woman with the appearance of a 5-year-old, as well as a powerful metahuman and a member of the Helix, which is a criminal gang established as an evil counterpart to the Infinity Inc. Now, it should be said that Baby Boom has a far darker and more tragic backstory than Baby Doll. You see, Baby Boom and all the other members of the Helix are the result of genetic tampering on a group of innocent pregnant women who were basically used as vessels for the creation of metahumans. The man responsible for this was the sadistic Dr. Love, who is also one of DC's darkest characters. Now, it's pretty clear to see that both Baby Boom and Baby Doll were heavily inspired by Shirley Temple, who was the biggest child star in Hollywood history. Though, aside from Shirley Temple, Baby Doll's creator, Paul Dini, has also cited the controversial child star Gary Coleman as another source of inspiration for Baby Doll. Because you see, there is a very ominous side to child stars that could really be explored on its own, but basically, infant actors usually end up pretty bad. as the consequences of fame and fortune are always far too much to handle for anyone, especially someone so young. Now, the biggest differences between Baby Doll and Baby Boom lie in their origins and abilities. Baby Doll once had a life and a family, as well as a chance for happiness. Baby Boom, on the other hand, never did. Unlike Baby Doll, who has no metahuman abilities and relies on henchmen to do the physical work, Baby Boom was never even given a real name. She was never really meant to be a person, only a weapon. As a powerful metahuman, Baby Boom can explode any object with her mind. Think of Gambit, but far more dangerous. These abilities make her quite formidable, capable of going toe-to-toe with even godlike beings such as Swamp Thing. Now, it should be noted that both versions of Baby Doll suffer from a rare form of hypoplegia, a condition that stunts growth of certain organs or areas of the body. It has been compared to the condition that affected actors Gary Coleman and Maria Elena Saldaña, who is ironically famous for playing a role very similar to Baby Doll, called La Güereja. The DCAU version of Baby Doll became rather famous, inspiring several characters of similar nature. For example, in 1997, Warner Brothers, which is the home of Batman and all DC Universe properties, released an animated film called Cat's Own Dance, which is a fun, lighthearted musical adventure that features a villain which is almost identical to Baby Boom or Baby Doll, Darla Dimple, who not only resembles the other two babies, but also speaks in a similar manner and pretty much has the same personality. Now, Darla Dimple is, of course, a reference to the real-life child star Shirley Temple. Sadly, people with conditions that affect growth go through several different challenges in life. And interestingly enough, there is an aspect regarding this condition which hasn't really been explored enough, and that is the romantic side, or lack thereof, that comes with this condition. I think the closest we've ever come to exploring this hardship would be on yet another Warner Brothers property, the Orphan franchise, where we can see the romantic adversities from the perspective of the affected. Mind you, this film does not offer the best of examples, given how the characters in question are less than model citizens. But still, this franchise gives a little peek at what it's like to deal with something like this. Speaking of which, on the Batman The New Adventures episode, Love is a Crock, we see a somewhat reformed Baby Doll working as an innkeeper in some sort of couples retreat spot, which by the way is rather cruel, as she was never able to find love, and was constantly reminded of that by witnessing happy couples all day, every day. Eventually, though, she snaps and returns to her criminal ways, teaming up with Killer Croc, another Batman villain with a physical condition. Doll eventually develops feelings for him, though Croc does not feel the same way towards Baby, and this eventually causes the partnership to end, in a very explosive way. In any case, it seems like DC has favored Baby Doll over Baby Boom, even going as far as deleting the OG Baby, and giving her spot to the DCAU Baby. And so, Baby Doll has been making far more appearances than Baby Boom, in both comics and animation. In fact, Baby Doll recently made her transition to mainstream continuity on the pages of Harley Quinn and Two-Face. She also became a major player in the Kite Man animated series, which is a spin-off from the Harley Quinn series. By the way, side note, wow, are we really getting a Kite Man series before giving one to Catwoman or Wonder Woman? I mean, really? Seriously? Yikes. And a rant. No, wait, why on earth is Baby Doll's head so darn big? Batman is a grown man, very tall, with broad shoulders and everything. And somehow a 6-year-old has a head 3 times his size? And what about the extremely large eyes? I don't know, it just doesn't fit. Baby Doll seems like she belongs in a show such as Tiny Toons, rather than Batman the Animated Series. And this has always seemed like an odd choice to me, but regardless, DC and the fans seem to prefer Baby Doll, and so Baby Boom is bound to become not only forgotten, but lost, within the obscure corners of the DC universe, just like all those wonderful characters who were never given a fair chance. Now, what do you think? Which of these two criminal babies do you like best? And do you think DC is big enough for the two of them? As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Be safe and well. And remember that sometimes the biggest surprises come from the smallest packages. I didn't mean to.